Bizarre Brain Comics. Hello, and welcome to Bizarre Brain Comics. I'm Gary, your host. And this is where I like to take a look at some older comics, talk a little bit about the characters and creators, and then examine the stories and the art. Okay? And what I want to take a look at today is this book right here from Marvel Comics 19... What was it? I think it's 1987. From Marvel's New Universe, Star Brand #2. Let's see what the big book of knowledge has to say. Star Brand #2 from Marvel's New Universe 1986. Written by Jim Shooter with art by John Romita Jr. and inks by Al Williamson. Okay, Star Brand is the number of characters from Marvel Comics created by Jim Shooter. It ran for 19 issues from 86 to 89 as part of Marvel's New Universe. And the Star Brand is a star-shaped mark in the Star Brand title, and it gives its bearer near godlike superpowers. And the title followed Ken Connell and his trials to use his powers the right way, responsibly. And after issue 11, John Byrne took over writing and drawing chores. And in issue 12, the Star Brand accidentally destroyed Pittsburgh. And I liked this title when it first came out. I can't remember how he actually got the powers, got the Star Brand. I remember it was transferable. Like, he had it in his hand. He could put it any place on his body if he needed to hide it, and he could give it to someone else. Okay, let's go take a little look in the weird, bizarre world of the New Universe with Star Brand. Okay, here we see, you can see the whole image, get the glare off there. And of course, that cover by John Romita Jr. Of course, John Romita Jr. had previously been real big on Spider-Man, following on the heels of his father, who had also drawn Spider-Man. And at that time, his style was very, very similar, and sometimes almost indistinguishable from his father's style. But over the years, his style evolved away. You can still see it in there, but it's not as much. It doesn't look nearly as much like his father's work. And then, of course, inks by Al Williamson, who is gone now. But he was came to prominence on EC Science Fiction Comics back in the 50s. Did illustration, did comic strips, Secret Agent X, and he's had done some Flash Gordon in the comics, including the comic adaptation of the Flash Gordon movie from about 40 years ago. And he is gone now. But yeah, here in this cover. Okay, you can see the corner box, and here is Ken Connell in his costume, and you can see there the emblem of the Star brand, which is what he has on his body, which gives him his powers. And here you can see the time ticking down: 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you see him taking something down under the ocean, and of course it's got a radioactive symbol on it, so this must be some kind of nuclear bomb. And Jim Shooter, he was born in 1951, and he's an American comic writer, editor, and publisher. And he started his career at the age of 13, writing a story for DC's Legion of Superheroes in '64. Then he got onto writing Supergirl and Superboy stories. Initially, the publishers didn't know he was a boy. And of course they found out later when they had to talk with his mother, but they continued letting him write. At 14, they brought him from Pittsburgh to New York to spend a few days at the offices, the DC offices. They had to wait for the break, his school break, for the summer. And his income helped the cash-strapped family. And he continued on the Legion and other titles. In '69, he went to New York University and worked for Marvel, eventually becoming editor-in-chief. And he was fired during the New Universe years. So that was one of the reasons why John Byrne took over the writing and art duties on Star brand, because Jim Shooter was fired. And I gather that there was bad blood between John Byrne and Jim Shooter, which is why, in part anyway, why he blew up Pittsburgh to get Jim Shooter. And I guess also when he went over to DC in working on Legends, he modeled a one-time villainous character after Jim Shooter. It's kind of funny, but you wouldn't think there would be all that kind of politics in comics. I mean, internal politics. Okay, here it is, taking charge. Okay, this is shortly after remember, this is issue 2, so this is shortly after Ken Connell got his powers, and he's trying them out now, finding out what he can do. Here he is flying in his Pittsburgh Steelers t-shirt. And very nice line work, and a lot of that is due to Al Williamson's inks. In his later years, sometimes I've seen Williamson's inks on a lot of stuff, and sometimes I think he was just phoning it in. But this seems to be a pretty stable job. Here he is flying over the city, flying around, seeing how high he can go. He goes so high, and the lack of oxygen doesn't bother him. Fly all over the place, trying to figure out how to navigate. He finds a familiar landmark and then goes back to the city. Here's the stadium. Had some really nice backgrounds. You can see and great detail and implied detail in these backgrounds for real landmarks. Because remember, these comics were supposed to be placed more in the real world. Here he is flying back home, sees his neighbor lady starting to get undressed, and go, whoa, don't be a jerk. Gets home unseen, and then his friend Duck, nickname, young lady Duck, stops in and he's been having a relationship with another lady, but I think something didn't go right. He's calling her here, trying to see if everything's okay. He's with his with Duck. They got this cool car. I think that's her car. They're driving to a friend of his, the house of a friend of his, Myron something, or he's a like a therapist of some kind, and he let him know about his powers. Here they are, and turns out they're having a group session, and he's not happy about that when he finds that out, because he invited him here for the group session, and they're talking about it's just a discussion group. They're talking about if you had godlike powers, what would you do? And that kind of ticks Ken off, and he grabs Duck, and they take off while they're having the discussion, driving home. And he says, okay, he demonstrates to Duck his powers, and then reveals why Myron had that session. And they go on home and go, wow. Well, then he says, okay, what should I do? And he says, well, you'll do the right thing. Whatever it is, you'll do the right thing at the time. So here they are the next morning. She's fixing him some breakfast, and they're talking about stuff. And a thing on the news about a kid who's fallen down in a well, which happens from time to time. And they're concerned that the rescue operation might cause a cave-in and might kill the kid if he's still alive. So he flies over there and doesn't want to be seen or anything, because he doesn't want this to intrude too much on his private life. And he sees what he might do. He put it in, envisions what he'd fly down and save the kid and stuff. But then his life will be shot to hell. So he's going to try to do the Superman thing, right? He goes off a ways and starts to dig and to build a tunnel to the well. Well, he gets the thing collapses on top of him. He's not injured, but he's all covered in crap. He can't see where he's going. He can't navigate. Well, that doesn't work. Then he sees, well, what's this? This is Spitfire from another title. Spitfire. This comes in, goes down that hole, whoosh, and right back up with the kid in arms. Saves the kid, and off Spitfire goes. So Ken follows Spitfire, sees where it lands, sees the lady and coming out of the Spitfire, because he was thinking it was a robot. Everyone was thinking it's a robot. And, well, I'll remember this place. And he takes off and goes back home and takes a shower, get all the mud off of him. He talks to one of his friends who was at the meeting, and asks what people said, what they thought about, and he said, oh, all kinds of things. And then he sees on the news, okay, well, talk to you later. I don't mind. Thanks for calling. Blah blah. And you see on the news there about the thing about this cruise ship that has been hijacked by some Middle Eastern terrorists, and it's rumored that there is a nuke on board the ship, but they don't know. It's heading towards, is it Norfolk? I think it's heading to the Coast Guard. There's 1,200 hostages on board, and rumored they got a nuke, and that if they might have to sink the ship when it gets into American waters to safeguard the coastal cities and stuff. So he gets on his motorcycle gear and he takes off. And he goes to Norfolk, sees the plane. He doesn't know how to find the ship, but he sees a plane take off, a spy plane. I presume that's supposed to be an SR-70 spy plane, which I don't think they would have used for this, but it doesn't matter. And he follows the plane out to the ship. And here see is the really, really nice, great job on the ship. You can see the nice inking technique of Al Williamson and Romita's great, really nice work on the artwork, on doing the ship, the people, the details, and the backgrounds. Everything looks very, very nice. And I have to comment on that, on his Ken's face. When they do show close-ups of him, he has unusual features. Very long, elongated, and sharp features. But he's a nice-looking young man. So he's on the ship. One of the guards spots him, and he goes to take the guy out, just to knock him out and disarm him, but he forgets about his strength, and he winds up breaking a bunch of bones in the guy. Oops, sorry about that. Ties him up, and then goes on, gets another guard. This time he was able to tie him up without breaking a bunch of his bones, and he's going around flying around the ship, trying to take out all the guards and seeing the bosses. That must be their bomb. And you can see here it's a relatively small device, but it's, instead of like Marvel would usually have some really outrageously science fiction-y device, even though of course that's exactly what it is. It has more of a realistic look to it, just for a small nuke. Of course, yeah, and even at that time, they had the capability of building small nukes, be a small in size, relatively small in weight, and of course still have a pack a punch, but it would be also relatively small in yield. But a small nuclear yield is still quite large. And as he's taking out the guard that he missed, or another guard there, then he finds out, oh, he must have missed a guard, and the ones he tied up have been found, and so the guys, the terrorists are talking. Of course, he can't understand them. They've got the trigger there, debating on whether or not to push the button. Oh no, I can't let that happen. And when he gets emotionally excited, his powers build, and he's saying, I can flare and disintegrate them and the nuke, but will I be able to control it enough to keep it to this part of the ship? And then I'd have to fly here. He's considering all the possibilities in his head. Have to save the rest of the ship. Would it still hold together? Would it collapse? Would it fall apart? Will I be able to save people? All this in just a fraction of a second in his mind. Right then, commandos, probably SEAL team, have snuck aboard the ship and start taking out the terrorists. Bluey. And I said, there's the guy. Get the code. He pushed the button. And probably a 1 minute delay. Get the code to try to shut it off. Nope, he won't give. Then we've got to throw it over the side. What can we do? The ship won't be able to get out of harm's way, but it might be enough. And they throw it over the side, and Starbrand goes down surreptitiously, catches the gizmo, and shoves it clear down to the ocean floor, burying it in the muck and mire of the ocean floor, and it goes off. Boom! That's a big boom. I know big booms. And he's lamenting having gotten muddy again. Said, I'm alive. I'm still alive. At least the mud's been cleaned off me now. Then he goes to where he saw the Spitfire people, their team, and he talks with them. They check. Said, do you have radiation equipment to check? And if there's no radiation on him, he doesn't explain much. Just says that because they were about to engage Spitfire in a rescue mission on that ship. Don't worry, don't bother with it. It's already taken care of. Commandos took care of it all. And then just to demonstrate, well, who are you and why are you asking all these questions and stuff? And he gives a little demonstration, crunches a steel wrench, and said, now it's, you don't use this much, do you? He said, nope, crunch. And now it's art. And see you around, he takes off. But in a way, he's made contact with others in the new universe, and then he's back home. And of course, in the whole operation, no one actually saw him except for one of the guards who he wound up putting in the hospital. And then here's on the news of the daring rescue of the cruise ship Delta Force anti-terrorist squad. Pentagon spokesman said no nuclear device was found on board. Passengers reported hearing a small explosion, possibly a grenade thrown overboard during the scuffle. Yada, yada, yada. And that's it. So now, got Ken Connell, the Starbrand. And how is he going to, what's he going to do? How is he going to be a good guy when he's just trying to be a regular guy? And in this instance, nobody saw him. Nobody saw him. It was all surreptitious. No one knows that he exists except those who he has revealed himself to, and they don't necessarily know what role he played. So that's all I've got for Starbrand number 2 from 1986. Thank you for joining me. Please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. Feed that algorithm. Thank you for joining me. And remember, comics are art.